Hello, my name is Jeanette Gomez. I am a licensed dyslexia therapist and a certified academic language therapist qualified instructor. I love learning about structured literacy, and structured literacy is so important because it teaches teachers the phonics that they need to know so they can teach it to their own students. And phonics is very much more than knowing a letter and the sound it produces. It actually governs our English language, and our English language is 87% reliable. That means it follows a specific phonetic pattern and rules. And it helps us when teaching students how to read. Two important things I think we need to remember today is syllables. Now, a syllable, one syllable, is a word or part of a word with one vowel sound. And a syllable is one opening of the mouth. And what opens our mouth are vowels. Vowels open our mouth, and vowels are open and voiced. That's one thing to remember, is the definition of syllable. The second thing to remember today is that positions of sounds in a word dictates how you spell it. For example, if you hear a sound in the initial position and the medial position, you will spell it differently than when you hear it in the final position. So initial meaning first, medial means anything between first and last, and final means last. So let's get started. Today we're going to specifically work on a new spelling concept, a new spelling rule that relates to the sound E. So we're going to talk about spelling the E sound. And I'm going to ask three questions. The first question is, what position, initial, medial, or final is this sound? And that's a very important thing to know when spelling in English. What is the position? Because positions in the initial and medial spelling is different than the spelling of a final sound. So that's very important in English. The second question I'm going to ask today is, what letter do you see that is making the E sound? Because this is a discovery method. We are teaching students how to discover patterns for themselves, and I'll be using them. These are my guiding questions to steer them in the direction I need for them to go. And then the second very important thing, but our third question is about syllables. How many syllables are in this word? The number of syllables in a word and its position dictates how to spell certain sounds. And it's especially true for spelling the E sound today. And I'm going to model how I do it with students. I have some words here that I'm putting up. I want you to look at these words and repeat these words after I do. Seed, eel. Now, let's look at our very first question. What position, initial, medial, or final is this sound? And the sound that we're spelling today is E. So where are we seeing the E sound in seed? Right there. It's in the middle. It's between the initial and the final. What about this? Eel. What position, initial, medial, or final, is this sound? You're right, it's in the initial. So in the initial, I for initial, comma to separate it, M for medial, I am hearing the E sound. Let's look at the second question. What letter do you see that is making the E sound? Well, let's look closely. Let me get my highlighter out. Eed. Look at that. Two E's are coming together to make that sound. When two letters come together to make one sound, that's called a digraph. A digraph is two letters that come together to make one sound. And to make sure these letters stick together, I'm going to underline them. Let's look at the next word. Eel. What is making the E sound? What do you see making the E sound? Correct, it's digraph E, E. Let me highlight digraph E, E. May not can see it too clearly, but I've highlighted it. A digraph was when two letters come together to make one sound. I'm going to underline them so they stay together. And really, when I say this word, seed, I'm not going seed. I'm saying the E sound one time. The same with eel. I'm not going eel. I'm saying eel. That means I hear that first E. It's making a long sound, so I'm going to put a macron on top of it. But that second E is like it's silent. Same thing here. Eel. That first E is making long sounds, so I'm going to put a macron on top of it. That second one is like it's silent. Let's look at our third question. How many syllables are in this word? How many times did I open my mouth with seed? One time. Eel, one time. This is a one syllable base word. And remember, a syllable is a word or part of a word with one vowel sound. And every time we open our mouth, we are saying one syllable. So if I open my mouth two times, the word has two syllables. Let's look at some other words. Repeat these words after me. Athlete. Adhere. Okay? Let's look at some questions. What position, initial, medial, or final is this sound? And the sound we're working with is E. Where are you hearing the E sound in athlete? Adhere. You're hearing it in the medial position. Let me highlight it. E. We hear that E. And look, we're hearing it right before a consonant. It's not at the end. It's not in the final position because it's right before that final consonant sound. Next question. What letter do you see that is making the E sound? Well, let's look at it. Athlete. If you think it's just E, you're not exactly quite right. Because if I take off that E that's at the final position, then it's going to say athlete. Because a vowel inclusive was short. And this vowel is not short, it's long. It's saying E, athlete. So we see the long E sound here. We see a consonant and we see a final silent E. Vowel, consonant, E. The first vowel is long and the second one, the final E, is silent. Same situation here. Adhere. That first E is long and that second E is silent. Let me go ahead and highlight that second E even though it's silent. Okay, so we see an E, we see a consonant, and we see a final E. And that first E is long and that second E is silent. And I forgot to put the digraph EE here at the top. So digraph EE and a one syllable base word. Now we have E, consonant E. Let's go on to our last question. How many syllables are in this word? How many times did I open my mouth with athlete? 2 times. And if you put your hand lightly underneath your chin, you can feel your opening of the mouth. Adhere. 2 times. This is a 2 syllable base word. So in the initial and medial position, if it's a 1 syllable base word, I'm going to write digraph EE as in seed. In the initial and medial position, if I heard E in a 2 syllable base word, I'm going to write E, consonant E, as an athlete. Let's look at some more words. Now, teachers, I would work with 1 syllable base words. All of my 1 syllable base words would follow, and I don't know if I have it all in a camera view, but one of my 1 syllable base words would all follow this spelling rule here with digraph EE. And then I would have 2 syllable base words that follow the E, consonant E. And I would work with that for long amounts of time. with them using digraph EE or E consonant E. For example, let me give you an example. I would have the students spell feed, and they would repeat the word feed, and I'll ask them, how many times you open your mouth? They'll say 1 time, and then I'll say, well, E has to be spelled with digraph EE. I would ask them to spell complete, and I'll ask them, how many times you open your mouth? And they would say 2 times, so it's a 2-syllable base word. So the E in complete is spelled E consonant E, writing the consonant sound they hear. And then I work with them a long time on this. And when they felt comfortable with this, and then I would add this to it. Okay. I have 2 more words here. I'm going to say them. I want you to repeat them after me. Rebate. Equal. And then I'll go back to my questions. What position, initial, medial, or final, is this sound? Well, let's look at it. Rebate. It's in the medial position. Equal. It's in the initial position. What letter do you see that is making the E sound? Well, let's look at it. Rebate. It's right here. It's this letter, the E. Let's look at the next one. Equal. It's this letter here. It's the E. So let me write E here on top. I've already answered what letter I see making that sound, the E sound, and it's the E. How many syllables are in this word is my next guiding question. Well, rebate, open mouth 2 times. Equal, open mouth 2 times. So this is a 2-syllable base word. And then that's when you might have some students that are confused. Well, Miss Gomez will say, well, these both are for 2-syllable base words. What's the difference? How do I know when to use E consonant E? Or when to use just plain E? Well, the answer is a discovery method for them. Talk about saying the word athlete. Where do we break that word up? We broke it up right here. That's our syllable division line. Athlete. Well, let's say the next word. Add here. We broke it up right here. That's our syllable division line. This is my first syllable. This is my second syllable. So where did I hear the E sound in these words? In the first syllable or the second syllable? That's right. I heard it in the second syllable. And then guess what? I heard a consonant after it. Athlete. I heard that T sound after the E sound. Adhere. I heard the sound. Sound after the long E sound. So I heard it in the second syllable. S stands for syllable. And remember, a syllable is a word or part of a word with 1 vowel sound. Well, let's look at these words here. Where are we hearing that E sound? Rebate. Oh, I heard the E sound right before that second syllable. So I'm dividing it right there. Rebate. Look at the next one. Equal. I'm hearing the E right here in this first syllable. Qual. This is in, the E sound is in that first syllable. So when I'm spelling words, I've got to be listening. If it's especially when it's a 2-syllable base word, where am I hearing the E sound? If I hear it in the second syllable, I'm going to use E consonant E. If I hear it in the first syllable, I'm going to just use a plain O-E. Okay, so we have 3 choices, the most frequent choices, and that's what you're trying to teach is the rules that are correct 87 or higher. You're teaching the rules that are more frequently correct. And since English is 87% correct and predictable in reading and spelling, I want to teach what they can use and what is most used of the words. And so the other percentage of words they'll just have to memorize. So I'm teaching what is most regular and frequent in English. Okay, so those are 3 choices when we hear E sound in initial and medial. But we also have some we also have some E sounds in another position, and it's the final final position. And maybe I shouldn't have told you that. Let's just see if you can discover that. But I've already told you that. Let's see if you can discover that. Look at these words here. I'm going to say these words. You repeat them after me. Be. Your turn. Free. Your turn. Let's go back to my questions. What position, initial, medial, or final, is the sound? Be. Free. Where are we hearing that E sound? Correct. It's in the final position. I kind of already told you that, but it's in the final position. Next question. What letter do you see that is making the E sound? Well, let's look at it carefully. B-E. There it is. Digraph E-E. Free. There it is. Digraph E-E. And we've talked about digraph E-E before. Digraph E-E. A digraph is two letters, two fingers, two letters that come together to make one sound. I hear my first E, so I'm going to put a macron on it to remind me it makes a long sound. The second E I'm going to mark out because I don't go B-E, E. And the same thing, digraph E-E. First one is long, put a macron and cross out the silent E. Digraph E-E. Underline it. Remind myself to keep it together. First one is long, the second one is silent. So that's my choices again, the final position. Digraph E-E. First one is long with the macron and the second one is silent. Okay. Let's see. Our last question. How many syllables are in this word? Well, in B, open my mouth one time. Next word. Free. Open my mouth one time. These are one syllable base words. And you know what? I'm going to divide this big line down the middle. Should have written it a little bit better, but there it is. So nice and big and dark so you can see it. This is initial and medial positions. These are final positions. We're going to be talking about the E sound. So in a one syllable base word, when I hear a final E sound, I'm going to spell it digraph E-E, as in be and free. Let's look at some more of the words. Repeat these words after me. Candy. Your turn. Story. Your turn. Let's look at our questions. What position, initial, medial, or final, is the sound? Candy. Story. That is in the final position. F for final. Next question. What letter do you see that's making the E sound? Well, let's look at it. Candy. Oh, look at that. It's a Y. Story. Look at that. It's a Y. And I highlighted that. I don't know if you can see it that well. I should have used a darker one. So it's a Y making that E sound. And actually, when Y is in the middle of a word or a final part of a word, it's a vowel. It's vowel Y. That's why Y sometimes is a vowel. So we see, the letter we see that's making that E sound was vowel Y. And I put this dot on top of it to remind me that's a vowel instead of a consonant. Y is a consonant when it's in the initial part of a word, but when it's in medial and final, it's a vowel. And it's making that E sound. Last question. How many syllables are in this word? Let's see how many times we open our mouth. Candy. 2 times. Story. 2 times. So a 2-syllable base word. So anytime I hear the final E sound, I got 2 choices. Digraph E-E or vowel Y. I use digraph E-E in a 1-syllable base word. And I use vowel Y in a 2-syllable base word. Now that is a lot of information for students to understand. So you're not going to do all of this in one day, but you being teachers, you can handle it being one day. Or if you're not a teacher, you're watching this, you're an adult, you can handle it being one day. So after I teach all of these rules, and along the way teaching all of these rules, I'm also going to use something called visual spelling because some students need to be scaffolded before they can start applying this rule. So this is what visual spelling looks like. I have a word here. This is the word. And the word says complete. And the E sound is missing. So I need to fill in that E sound with one of these choices that are up here. Well, I have to ask myself, where do I hear the E in complete? Initial, medial, or final? Correct. I hear it in the medial position. So if I hear it medial, these are my three choices. And I have to ask myself, how many syllables? Complete. Well, I've mouthed 2 times, so it's 2 syllables. But let's say I didn't know how to read this word just yet. How I know it has 2 syllables? Well, remember, a syllable is one opening of the mouth, and vowels open our mouths. So I have one vowel here, and the E sound I hear is 2 vowels. So I know it's 2 syllables. So here are my 2 syllables. So it's either E consonant E or plain old E. Well, I have to think to myself, where do I hear the E sound? In the second syllable or the first syllable? Complete. I hear it in the second syllable. So that means, get my tape up here. So that means it follows this rule right here. It should be an E, consonant E. So there's my E, there's my consonant, and there's my other silent E that I need to have to spell it correctly. Next word. If I was going to spell this word, the word should say feed. I need to ask myself, do I hear initial medial position, the E sound? And if that's correct, or final, E, it's in the initial medial, I need to decide, is this a 1 syllable or 2 syllable? Eed. The E sound is here, so 1 vowel sound, so it's 1 syllable. And so the only choice is digraph E, E. Let me put that up there now. Fold up my tape. So that would be digraph E, E, feed. And 2 more examples. I want to spell this word. This word should say sorry, and I'm using visual spelling. And I've got to ask myself, where do I hear the E sound? Sorry. I hear it in the final position. So my 2 choices is digraph E, E, or vowel Y. I have to ask myself, is it a 1 syllable base word or is it a 2 syllable base word? There's a vowel, and I heard an E, which is a vowel sound, so I know it's 2 syllables. So that means to spell the E in sorry, I have to use a vowel Y. And my last example, I want to spell this word in visual spelling. It's tree. Where am I hearing the E sound? Correct, I'm hearing in final position. So I ask myself, is it a 1 syllable base word or 2 syllable? Well, vowels open our mouths, and vowels dictate how many syllables we have. So look at that. E. I only open my mouth 1 time. My vowel is missing. It's not there. So it's a 1 syllable base word. I have to use digraph E, E. After using visual spelling where the kids can see the words and just filling in the sound, I then move to auditory spelling. And auditory spelling is more complicated. I will say B-side, and they have to think to themselves, B-side. I hear an E. It's in the initial position, and it's a 2 syllable base word. And so let's get started because I know it's going to be one of these. So B-side. B. E. Side. It's 2 syllables. B is B. E. I'm going to skip for now. Side. S. S. I. D. D. If I don't add that silent E, that will say be-sid. So I have to make that E for a vowel consonant E syllable pattern. B-side. 2 syllables. Where do I hear the E sound? I hear it in my first syllable. So it has to be an E. B-side. B-E-S-I-D-E. Okay. And I hope that this explains the 5 different ways to spell the E sound. Thank you.